I'm Diego Cordovez.
Adam Schoenfeld.
Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. And today we have an up-and-coming young man who's already had quite a bit of success, but who seems due for more, named Jason Koon. And he won almost $500,000
I cashed in the event also.
FTOPS for
$600.
similar.
Yes.
In one of the multi-entry FTOPS, he won $460,000, and more recently in the live events, he reached the final table of the Festa al Lago. But he's got over $2 million of winnings, and he's a force to be reckoned with online. And now he's determined to make his mark in the live events. And he's got an MBA.
Bring him on.
He's an educated young man. So let's meet him. So the FTOP season is upon us again. So appropriately, we have one of the great FTOP stories of all time, because just recently they had a $322 tournament. $322, right? That was the key. The new multi-entries,
yeah, that's wild.
And you walked away with almost $500,000. So that in itself is already impressive. But what was interesting to me, without knowing all the details, is that you were not the final player. You did not win, but you got like more than $100,000 more than the second guy due to some deals and some machinations. So
yeah.
How did that all come about?
Yeah, well, actually five-handed, I won a pot that was near 200 big blinds, and at the final table, I think I had somewhere around 70 to 75% of the chips in play going into four-handed, and then
Wow.
Yeah, and then I think three-handed we cut the deal, and I just had so many more chips, and the guy that beat me 84, I think his name's Shieldy84 on Stars, is a very good player, and we played a lot together. We both knew that we were competent, and I think I just managed to get a good deal, given that they knew I had a lot of chips and a lot of momentum and was feeling really good.
Was it pretty much chip count?
Yeah, it wasn't ICM. I told him I would take chip count equity, which is I think much more top heavy, typically based than ICM, and so I told him I'd do that, and gave a couple bucks away here and there, and got the deal. It's pretty nice.
So it wasn't that you got a big premium just due to your reputation or your results. It just happened that you just had a lot of the chips at the right moment.
Yeah. I think I wouldn't have gotten the chip deal if I hadn't been there a couple times at least. You know, I think the guy knew he had a huge edge to close me out, and then maybe it would have been different. But yeah, it was definitely more stack size based than it was based on experience, things like that.
And then, now of course, this is the variance of three-handed poker. Anything can happen. Did you feel that you played well after the deal?
Oh, absolutely.
And you were still motivated?
Yeah, oh yeah. I wanted the jersey very bad. I've always been saying that, and I had him all in twice for the win. I think once I was behind pretty significantly, like ace-6 suited to jacks, where he had 20 big blinds, and then we got in a flip, and I think we played for 2.5, 3 hours. It wasn't like either of us were like, whatever, we're just playing for 20K, and we both wanted it, and he played really well. That's the way it fell.
So there is always some, and that can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter if you're Phil Ivey or the new guy.
Yeah, that's a poker's world like that.
The giant prize tends to provide some consolation, I think.
The
next day when the sting's over and you look in your account and...
Yeah, no, I would be lying to say that I wasn't at least somewhat fulfilled whenever we got the deal.
But it doesn't, it doesn't change, it might have changed what happened or it might not have changed what happened, but the fact that you made the deal at the precise, optimal moment also has to be very satisfying, because, literally you made a couple more $100,000 just out of that, out of the timing. I don't know whether your opponent regrets it or realizes that it might have come out differently, but as it turns out, it was just...
Sounds like it was a reasonable deal at the time.
Very reasonable.
Yeah,
and then
absolutely. And I think we both understand the volatility of short-handed poker, and I think we both just knew long run it was probably close to... it's like a marginal EV decision either way, but it's just going to be a higher variance route just playing for all the money. You know, like... Math-wise, it's probably about the same thing, cutting the deal or playing for the money. But since him or I aren't Ivy, and that's so much money to us, it's like we probably take the more stable route. And, yeah.
It sounds like there's no reason for anyone to regret anything.
No,
it's like,
absolutely not.
Only results-oriented. It's like, well, maybe I would have gotten first, or the other guy could have gotten more.
Poker is results-oriented.
Yeah, correct. I made a flush, therefore I'm a genius.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jason, I saw you had some interesting and, to me, not standard comments on the difference between live play, and I guess this was based on some of your World Series of Poker experiences, and online play, and some of the implications for how one might adjust. Can you discuss a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think frequencies are just much different in live poker relative to online poker, given one that the structures of the tournaments give you much more play, and also the different crowds that live poker invites. You know, usually when you're playing at least a larger buy-in live tournament, you're going to have your very, very strong players, and you're going to have your recreational players who have a lot of money. And that creates a different dynamic than playing against a bunch of kids who are backed and being taught and playing these mid-stakes or high-stakes online MTTs, and they're 20 tabling, and they know all about profitable shoves and reshoving and 3-betting, 4-betting, 5-betting, things like that. And then I went into live poker with the general assumption that everyone was as crazy as I was. So
and as crazy as some of your opponents who are successful players.
Exactly.
Playing high levels against you.
Yeah, and at the time, whenever I first started playing live poker, it was I was coming off an online heater where I would be lying to say I wasn't somewhat overconfident, and I definitely overvalued my skills, and I went into live poker with the just the assumption that I was much stronger than what I was, and in the spring of '09, I won like a lot of tournaments, and I think a lot of it was based on variance. I think that I ran really well, and I was learning along the way, and I was aggressive, and the combination of being a very aggressive player, if you're running well and you're very aggressive, you're going to be in the position to win tournaments, even if you're not that good. And so I went into live poker with the assumption that I was strong, and I was making tons of mistakes and playing way over aggressive and in all the wrong spots and things like that. So typically, not only did I learn that the dynamics of live poker are much different, given that, like I said, frequencies are different. People flat more, people do different things. I also wasn't nearly as good as what I thought I was.
I think it's very important that anyone is able to recognize that weakness in their own thinking, because if you're stubborn or your ego just continues to rule you, you might never adjust to make and learn from what you're doing. So that's cool.
I mean, the demographics are so different.
Right.
I mean, just the nature. I mean, age,
like
background, everything is so different. And I also think in live tournaments, to some degree, and maybe not for everyone, but for a lot of people, even just the physical act of having to put the chips in the pot
and the potential face-to-face embarrassment.
No, it's
and
definitely
having to stand up and walk away after being knocked out, change the dynamics where you can bluff more successfully, but at the same time, you're also going to run into real hands a lot more often, just because it's a lot different than when you're just clicking a button or two. You make a play, it doesn't work, you get
and you're in
knocked
6
out.
other tournaments or more at the same time. It's
absolutely.
like it's easy to
and decisions are much more consequential, considering that you've devoted 3 or 4 days into one tournament. You know, it's like, I really don't want to screw this up. I've spent the last 4 days playing.
And at the World Series of Poker, some people have traveled there and may only be playing. I mean, that's not trivial.
That's
No.
the other
And
dynamic.
it's not irrational either.
No, absolutely not. No.
Imagine you've traveled all the way over from Europe or something. You're going to play the main event. You don't want to put in some 4-bet shove and be knocked out 20 minutes in after traveling like an entire day.
It's a balancing act, because I think you still have to be willing to make what you know to be the correct play.
Absolutely.
On the other hand, sometimes the correct play changes. I saw you describe in this interview that I read that you gave, where sometimes when, let's say, the shorter stack has 20 big blinds, you might want to raise and then fold, because the way you described it, some 6-year-old guy, he means you.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not going to just have any 2 against your ace-6.
Whereas online, there's probably terrible equity if you fold in that spot.
I mean, if I'm playing online and it's you, Joe Chung, and I have to be willing to 4, 5-bet, 6-bet light, and then consider.
And you have to just auto call once you put a certain part of your stack in, which is not true in a live tournament.
No.
And especially the main event, and you described it correctly again, it's the structure. I mean, sometimes I feel very wimpy for just sitting there day after day, and I'm below average stack, but I think that's the right play in many instances.
Absolutely. Yeah, getting there. I mean, getting there, that's the thing. I was telling myself, I made a deep run in the Festa, the WPT, and I went into day 4 or day 5 very, very short, like dead last in chips. And I just kept telling myself, just stay alive, make the next day. Really, you know, and then worry about it then. If I keep worrying about just making the next day, be average at the final table.
I was going to bring that up, which is you're very modest and also realistic about your first forays at the live tourneys, but obviously things are getting better. And in this Festa al Lago just last October, you made the final table, finished 4th, and as is always the case on these, maybe with a hand or two, could have gone even further. So did you feel like this was a culmination where you'd applied a lot of your new strategies? Or?
Absolutely. Those tournaments are just incredible with the structures and how they allow you to rest up, and you always play your game because you know you're not playing for 16 hours a day. You get to go home and rest. But that tournament was just a life-changing tournament for me. Given I was at the point of my career up until that week, I had been having a pretty rough year. I'd won a couple online majors, but overall, like, I bricked the World Series, and it was like a break-even year for me, which was really, really difficult to deal with, considering 2009 I had a wonderful, like I said, through-the-roof year.
Breaking the World Series will
it'll break your morale for sure.
Well, but I mean also your bankroll, just because you can be very successful in smaller tournaments online. Sunday, and then you get the World Series and you drop $250,000 there or so, and
that hurts,
you're right
sure.
back to.
Well, that week I'd actually won the Super Tuesday on Stars, their 1K, and then I got second in the Full Tilt 100 rebuy. And that Thursday, I wasn't even going to play Festa because I was taking a break from 10Ks. I was just trying to get my confidence back, try to, you know, work on my game. And since I had such a good week, I said, okay, whatever, I'll take a shot at it. And I go in, and if I bust it, I'm still up a lot on the week, and I'm really happy with everything. And I went in and finished day 1 with half a starting stack. But I still just had a smile on my face, and I was having a lot of fun, and I was challenging myself. And I just realized I obviously ran well in that tournament. I won a lot of huge flips. And I got a couple, you know, nice 3-outers or whatever. But that week, I just realized how much I love the game and how much passion I had for it. I woke up every day, and it's literally embarrassing to say, but from day 4 on, I woke up every day and literally would get teared up. I was so excited to play. I had to call my mom. I was like, Mom, I'm embarrassed, getting a little bit emotional. But
that's wonderful.
That's awesome.
After all the success you've had, which is a lot, which could make you very jaded. You know, to still feel
cynical,
of course,
unpleasant people. I'd much rather
to still feel excited about playing.
I truly love it. I absolutely love the game.
Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. And it's very soon to talk to Jason Koon, and he's very willing to talk about his career and his strengths, and he's open about his thinking. So we're going to bring him back for part 2 next time.